Here's an appropriate joke to set the appropriate tone for today. They call my dick the Flintstones ride. Do you know why? Because you have to use your feet to make it work.
Ow.
I want to know what the hell is going on.
Welcome to Screen Share and Chill. My name is Kelly.
I'm Keith.
I'm Jamie, I think. I don't even know if I want to take credit for that much.
Jamie is still reeling from the AI conversation. She's still contemplating whether or not she's living in a really real world or if it's a construct of an AI reality. Or she is the construct of the AI reality.
Or
Pretty
we
sure
are
I'm
the
the
constructs
Perfect.
of the AI reality.
Hey, we'll deal with that when we get to that episode where our producers admit to us that we are not real people. In which case, my lip is not swollen today, which I was debating whether or not to bring it up, but hey, here it is. My lip is all swollen today, and I don't know why. I didn't get in a bar fight or anything, so...
No, we all know you ain't got filler.
Yeah, you know, I'm trying to get those real poofy lips so I can do the duck face on... I don't know...
You're finally beautiful, Kelly, okay? It's time to stop with all the surgical enhancements.
Beauty is a journey. It's not a destination. Okay, you'll never actually fully be there. It's the friends we made. The beauty is the friends we made along the way. So, Keith, you were saying that we were saying we both were in the mood for fish and chips, and you were saying you wanted to get it from your local area, and you were getting what kind of fish?
Brim and crappie. That's the kind that I like to actually fish for.
Brim and crappie?
Yes.
Those sound like bad cartoon characters.
Those are
Bebop and Rocksteady's companions.
Heard of crappie. I've never heard of brim.
It's freshwater fish. I believe brim is also referred to as perch. Let me
okay.
Let me make sure.
Oh yeah,
I'm
we have
correct.
perch all the time up here. Yeah.
And I've heard of crappie.
I love perch. Most restaurants I've worked at, because I was a bartender for years, most restaurants I work at that have fish and chips, they usually have two types. They have cod and perch. Cod is like $8.99, perch is $14.99, that kind of thing. And even the cod, I don't know, most of the restaurants, sorry for those that still work at those restaurants, but it's not always exactly cod.
No.
A lot of time it's like thick tilapia or something like that. That's very similar to cod in flavor.
Yeah, it used to be cod like when we were younger, but cod now is hard to get.
Yeah.
Brim, perch, sunfish. That's the good eating down here.
So you guys just have like a really cartoon-friendly name for your perch. We don't call it perch, we call it brimmy and toppy
and honestly,
and flashy.
Crappie is spelled crappy. It's literally CRAPPIE.
Yeah. I'm gonna go eat some crappy fish.
We decided collectively not to pronounce it that way.
We decided as a culture, we're not gonna call it anything normal. We're gonna call it crappy.
Yeah.
Are you sure about that? Yeah, nobody will eat it. It'll be just for us.
What kind of fish are you having today? Crappy fish. Crappy fish.
Yeah, you put it on the menu, all the out-of-towners, they'll stay away from it. It's all reserved for the local.
And someone's just sitting there going, it's crappie, it's not crappy.
Yeah, somewhere in the back is a linguist going, well, actually, how you pronounce it is... Anyways, I'm sure you would have guessed by our conversation, but if you haven't seen the title of this week's episode, we are doing... What movie, Keith? It's your pick, so you introduce your movie.
South Park, bigger, longer, and uncut.
Uncut? Does that mean that it was just unedited, or what is there? Are they making a joke there?
It's referring to an uncircumcised penis, I believe.
Oh my god, there are peni?
Hence the bigger and the longer part.
Yes.
Oh, yep, now it all makes sense.
The only word missing is thicker from that title.
Dirty. Much like Kelly's lip currently.
Yeah.
Yes. It's bigger, longer, and uncut.
Cut me. Oh, speaking of which, I don't know how we can't avoid the conversation of the Mike Tyson, the elder abuse on TV that was shown to everybody via buffering.
Some things never change.
Dude, did you? I watched it and I saw live that clip where like Mike Tyson is hugging his son and telling him he loves him, and then he walks away and it's like his whole bare ass.
I was like, is this a joke? Is this a satire Onion skit that somebody uploaded or something?
I was like,
no, this is fucking live TV. I'm like, okay, we just showed everybody Mike Tyson's, and he's like, he's wearing fucking chaps. Like, I've gone to gay bars that you can't wear that in here, sir. You know,
dude, the fight.
But you were Mike Tyson,
was...
so you know.
Yeah, well, But yeah, you're right. The fight before,
Yeah, it was fucking awesome. It was like some
those two women were going at it, bro. They were fucking.
It was
great.
like some Rocky shit. Her like head
Yeah.
was split open. I was like, oh my god! I was literally holding my breath watching that fight. It was great.
Best fight of the night.
Yeah,
best fight of the night.
absolutely.
And that just goes to show you anybody that is like, oh, women's sports, blah 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 blah. Well, there's just yet another example where the women actually kicked ass compared to the men. They were the highlight of the evening. Well, that and Mike Tyson's ass cheeks. That's about it.
That was really funny.
It was embarrassing too because like I tried watching it on a stream, but it kept buffering, and I looked online like everybody else did and saw that everybody else was having trouble too. And there was a user on Twitter that was live streaming. He was at the fight, but he was up in the nosebleeds, and he had pointed his phone at the jumbotron. So as far as I could tell, like when I looked last, it was like 15 million people were watching this stream. So we were all people at home watching a guy in the nosebleeds in the arena with his phone pointed at the goddamn jumbotron, and that's how 14 million people experienced this
What a
fight.
fucking hero.
How embarrassing. Yeah. Yeah, what a hero, but how embarrassing for Netflix, for Jake Paul. Is it Jake Paul or is it, I forget their name. One of the Paul brothers. They're both fucking
Or was it
annoying.
Logan Paul?
They're the same people. They're just like a big blob of influencer.
And at first I was like, Mike Tyson's going to pull it out. But then after watching like a round and a half, and I'm like, this is just sad. I was with everybody else like this. I don't like watching this. You're just watching him beat up an old guy. Like, God bless Mike Tyson. He was one hell of a fighter in his prime, but he's almost fucking, what, 60?
Yeah.
58? Something like that. So,
yeah, he's gonna.
but now that does prove that if I did need to, I could beat up my dad.
Yeah, Jake Paul's gonna fight Jimmy Carter next. I heard.
We can't bust heads like we used to, but we have our ways.
You know what? I put my money on the 2-digit number age man instead of the 3-digit number.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyways, so South Park.
Yeah, obviously this is a movie
Speaking
podcast.
of beating the shit out of elderly people, let's talk about South Park.
This is a gem of joy from my childhood. I remember it being pretty controversial at the time. It's probably still controversial depending on who you are, but
it has its moments.
it also has its like gut-bustingly funny moments still, at least to me. A lot of it holds up.
Yeah.
And the music has stood the test of time. I love the songs in this movie. I think they
have a knack for writing good musicals. This is just another musical in their short catalog, but they have a catalog of musicals they've done, and this is one of them. That's why watching this and appreciating the music as much as I have makes me, I'm like, the Book of Mormon is on my to-do list. I haven't seen it yet, but I know I'm going to fucking love it because I know with their irreverent humor combined with their chops, I don't know if it's them writing the music or if they bring somebody on or what, but
no,
It's them writing it.
Yeah.
So
it's well done. It's very cliched. Like if you brought in like an actual music composer or somebody that really gets into this, they'd be like, "There's nothing really all that new or unique that that they're doing here, but it's well done, cliched stuff." And for a comedy, that's all you need. You just need decent production value. So I'm not looking behind the rails. That's all you need.
Right.
Have either of you or both of you seen Cannibal the Musical?
Yes.
Yeah, we watched that for movie night before we did podcast.
All right, yeah. Like,
and that was them too, right? Yeah. So.
And they wrote all of that, and that was while they were still in college, so.
Yeah, and I think I made similar comments then that the fact that the music was actually, like, pretty decent, I was like, okay, all right, good for you. And, you know, this is just another
right.
one of those.
It's like competent level, professional level music, but on top of that, it's also being extremely funny, so it has that extra edge to get it over the average line, you know?
Yeah, and it's their specific brand of humor that we were talking about. Like, you brought up ahead of time, you're like, there are a couple scenes in this movie that are going to be very offensive by today's standards. You tell us about your philosophy on South Park with their punching.
So, you know, we say, and is a common practice to not punch down, right? You punch up at your jokes. South Park down is one of the directions where the punches seem to go sometimes, but it's also like an omnidirectional super punch that catches everybody.
I feel like it's more like a bomb.
Yeah.
And I can see that. So, like, it's easy for me to say, okay, so, like, as a pansexual man, if they make jokes about gay men, I feel comfortable saying whether or not these are offensive. But there's also that line where, okay, I can say to you, yeah, that makes total sense, but it's not my place to forgive them for making you know what I'm saying? Like when they make a blackface joke, I'm not black. It's not my place to come out and say, yeah, it's fine. It's okay. I can't give that token out. So,
Right.
And if the communities that they're mocking don't feel offended, cool. If they do feel offended, well, then that's something they should probably address or not. But I did see an interview once where they were talking about how they had their writing team down. They were going on a trip together. They were going to an aquarium or something like that. Oh, they were talking about how they made the fish sticks joke with Kanye West. They were at an aquarium and somebody said, "Oh, this is making me want fish sticks." And then somebody else chuckled because they thought they said fish dicks. And then all of a sudden, what was it? Matt Stone or whatever said, "Give me a piece of paper." And he's like, "Has anybody made that joke before? If not, we got to do it. We got to do it."
I saw that interview.
Who do we have that's attracted to fish dicks? Who more irreverent than Kanye West? Kanye West likes gay fish or something like that. Has anybody made that joke before? And somebody else on the team is like, I'm pretty sure nobody's made that joke before. Then we have to do it.
They said they searched for it. Like, they looked for the fish dicks joke, and nobody had done it. So,
and once you get that's their comedy, is like, has anybody made fun of this very random niche thing yet? No? Okay, let's do it. So, like, I don't know if South Park would come out today and make a lot of racist jokes or transgender jokes, because, like, there are already people doing that now, and those people are kind of assholes. So it seems to me like they would look for something else that people aren't making fun of.
They've also said,
I don't know.
They're on the record as saying that they look at like the first 3 years of South Park, and they're like, ooh, I probably wouldn't be making those jokes again. You know, everything evolves with time, and South Park is also one of those things that has evolved.
Like, I can totally see them doing a spoof of the Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fight, or Logan Paul fight, whatever fight. And they will totally rip on the assless chaps for like 5 minutes, because that's what they would do now at this point. Speaking
of which, I think this is one of those moments where, similar to how The Simpsons is prophetic in a lot of their episodes.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like Terrence and Phillip were YouTube influencers before it was really quite the thing that it is now. Terrence and Phillip are the Paul brothers.
Yeah. Yeah. Terrence and Phillip is it's their stand-ins for them for when they make fun of themselves. You know, just potty humor. It's just a bunch of farts, essentially.
Yeah.
And the complaints about how crappy the animation was. And they were like, okay, well, let us show you some real crappy animation.
It's also Beavis and Butthead. If you look at the framing of them on that couch, that's like the Beavis and Butthead couch, and you know, Beavis and Butthead, Terrence and Phillip. But speaking of Terrence and Phillip, I've always been delighted and turned into a 10-year-old boy at the Uncle Fucker song, which is the big opening number of this movie. And good God, does it still make me laugh. And it's, you know, that's them in this movie making fun of themselves. The Terrence and Phillip movie is the South Park movie coming out. And it really fucking nails it, because, you know, kids are like sponges, and I came out of the South Park movie literally singing the Uncle Fucker song.
Shut your fucking face, Uncle Fucker.
Yeah, just like they come out of
biting bastard, Uncle Fucker.
You don't eat or sleep or mow the lawn, you just fuck your uncle all day long.
And you were one of the cool kids if you remembered like 2 verses of that song in school. Right. Yeah, I get it.
But
I mean, there was a grown adult when this movie came out. Like, I remember watching it and going to work the next day. I think I was like 19.
I was like 17, I think, 18.
But I was old enough where I don't think I was in high school, but I don't think I was. I mean, I was still running around with teenage friends, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we were quoting this movie all day long. Like,
what garbage? Well, what do you expect? They're Canadian.
I'm not saying it was the proudest moment of my life.
I'm not saying I wasn't quoting it. I'm just saying I was quoting it at work, not at school.
Yeah, there you go. So we were basically Kyle, Stan, and Cartman in this movie. We were the children that were absorbing Uncle Fucker and repeating it to people in our real life, and people looking at us going, what the fuck is wrong?
That's U-N-C-L-E, fuck you, Uncle Fucker! Suck my balls.
They come out of the movie yelling, donkey raping shit eater. It's just like...
At one point, there's a little girl in class wearing a shirt that says Cockmaster.
Yes!
So, okay, have you ever seen the TV show Big Mouth?
Yes.
Yes.
Big Mouth is a TV show that is very irreverent comedy, kind of similar to South Park and a lot of these like real edgy adult cartoons kind of thing. It's really funny in a lot of ways, and I had a really good time watching a few seasons of that show. But there are scenes where it shows the little boy wandering around completely naked with his penis hanging out, and I'm like, wait a minute. In the TV show, these are like 5th or 6th graders. So we're seeing like a 5th or 6th grader with his penis hanging out. That's child pornography, and that shouldn't matter if it's drawn or not. And this movie brought that to mind because we have a little girl wearing a T-shirt that says Cockmaster.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot do that in real life.
No.
How is it that this is socially acceptable? Nobody gives a fuck that there is a little girl wearing Cockmaster T-shirt, but if you put that in a fucking movie, there would be protesting outside the theaters. There would be like...
Oh, there were protests outside about this movie.
I don't know, like, I'm not trying to talk about something super deep, but it's like, how does that happen? That doesn't make any sense to me.
There were definitely protests about this movie. It was much like that's kind of the whole movie was kind of a spoof of what was actually happening with the reality of South Park in general and the movie.
About that, yeah.
Yeah, so it makes me want to go out and get a shirt that says Cockmaster and wear it around everywhere. And when people stare at me, I'd be like, it's in cartoons, man. Go watch TV.
If they give you any shit, just blame Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go. One of the classic songs in this. And honestly, during election night, I kept hearing this song play in my it made zero sense. Yeah, every time I see Donald Trump pop up with like another win in another state, I hear blame Canada. And I'm like, what did Canada do? Like, Brain, what are you trying to tell me right now?
I dated a Canadian. I sang that song a lot.
The lyrics in that song, I just want to point out is the whole the blame Canada before somebody thinks of blaming us. The ending phrase of the song.
Yeah.
All the parents like, hey, let's not take the time to actually, talk to our kids and look at what they're consuming and confront that. No, let's blame Canada.
Yeah.
Us both being from like the Detroit area, I'm sure anybody from around here, we've dated Canadians. We know a lot of Canadians. And I would like to say, for the record, that I'm sure this was kind of intentional, but Canadians don't say about a boot. They say a boat. Like it's a boat, something that you would ride on the water. I remember once upon a time, that I was dating a Canadian woman, and we had just started dating. So it wasn't like a heavy relationship or anything, but we had been out on like 4 or 5 dates or something like that. And I called her on the phone. I said, hey, what you been up to tonight? She's like, oh, nothing, just hanging out on my couch. And I'm like, and she was in gymnastics. And I was like, you're doing what? And she's like, oh, I just been sleeping on my couch all night long. It's so comfy. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know you were seeing each other. And she's like, seeing each other? What are you talking about? And I'm like,
you thought she was doing a JD Vance.
When they're saying like, this is a boot. I don't know a single Canadian that says a boot.
I hate to break it to you, but now because of this movie, Canadians only say a boot in my mind and in the mind of millions of others. So
yeah, and if they're from Canada, they should know this.
To be fair, we are exposed to the Ontarian Canadians, and therefore maybe the Canadians that are from other provinces in Canada say
the Quebec, what do they call themselves? The Quebecacarnis? Quebecionis?
Or those from Nunavut. Or
the people from Quebec that are not quite French but like to pretend they are.
There's so much funny in this movie. I want to hear from you guys, like what jokes, what funny stood out, because that's what we're here for. You know what I mean? Like it's like, I don't know that a minute or two goes by in this movie and there's not some kind of joke happening, either visually or written into the script.
There are so many to call out, but I love this scene where they're in school and they're swearing and they're getting yelled at for swearing and they keep swearing at each other to tell each other to stop swearing. And Cartman's like, what? You can't say fuck? And they're like, no, fuck no, you can't say fuck. And he's like, why can't I say fuck?
He's like, what's the big fucking deal, bitch?
Yeah. And Mr. Garrison's
what kind of shit can I say?
Kyle, Kenny, Stan!
And when he starts getting the electrical current from swearing, and it turns swearing into his Kamehameha, and he has like unlimited power. Oh, that was great. Something I picked up on this time that somehow didn't register for me the first time that I watched it, because I watched it once years and years ago, and this is the first time I had seen it in a long time. But Saddam Hussein is apparently part Canadian.
Oh, is he?
Because his head moves the same.
Look at the way he talks.
Yeah.
His head pops off like the Canadians does. So that tells me like in subtext, Saddam Hussein is part Canadian.
Hey, relax, guy.
Yeah, and you could hear it in his voice. As soon as it clicked that he's part Canadian, I started comparing his voice against Terrence Phillip, and they have similar speaking styles, let's say.
The joke that Saddam Hussein is so awful that he has made Satan his bitch is just like chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Oh my god. The fact that Satan is one of the heroes of this story. Satan is literally one of the most wholesome, kind, compassionate, considerate persons in this entire fucking movie.
An arc that you care about, like you want him to overcome his abusive relationship with the Saddam
I will die
Hussein.
on this hill. Satan is the hero of South Park Bigger, Longer, Uncut.
Satan and Kenny.
Yeah, I mean, if you take his title away and I just were to like illustrate these different characters and their venture journeys, it's obvious to me that Satan is the good guy. He starts out, even the way he starts out, like everybody hates him, but he's still, if you get to know him, he's a kind, considerate person. He's just trying to be communicative and a good partner to his gay lover. You know,
they go sit on the couch. He's like, I find it condescending when you speak to me that way. Like they have their little relationship conversation.
Bend over, give me your hole. Like, whoa. Yeah.
So the plot really gets going when they go, they're forbidden to see the movie, and then it just smash cuts to them in the theater again the next day watching the movie again.
All of the kids, the whole theater is just kids from school.
And the movie ends apparently with Terrence or Philip, one of them lighting their fart on fire and burning the other one to death or whatever, and they're coming out, and Cartman's like, "That's bullshit, you can't do that." And Kenny protests and says that it's true, so he proves that it happens and sets himself on fire. Cartman's hitting him with a stick to put it out, and Cartman's like, the stick's on fire. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, he's more worried about the stick being on fire than his friend burning to death 5 feet away from him.
It's one of those points that shows that Cartman is really just the absolute worst. He is the worst. And so it's kind of why all the super offensive things they give to Cartman, because Cartman is
exactly.
It's clearly nobody you ever want to emulate.
Yeah, some people did. Some people did, though, back in the day. Some people tried to emulate Cartman, and that's why it was always a litmus test whether you're one of those, you're a dickhead.
Some people voted for Trump.
Yeah, right.
If you're emulating Cartman or you look up to Cartman in any way, then you're one of those people where I'm not an asshole, I just tell it how it is. Okay, so you're an asshole. Got it.
Yeah, Cartman is a character who killed a child's parents and fed them to him in Chile. Cartman is not a good person.
And then drank the child's tears.
He is literally the most evil person on the show. Like, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where all of our main characters are assholes.
Yeah.
Cartman would fit in with that group.
Right.
Cartman grows up to be on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah. So Kenny dies in the fire, and I think maybe my favorite joke in the whole movie is when he's going to heaven, the clouds are opening, and it's just a bunch of like big titty angels like waiting to receive
They're
you.
not even angels. There's no wings. It's just big titties
But
attached to women. But they're
the population sign says like heaven, like 1,000 something, and then when he's denied, he flies down to hell, and the billboard says population. It's on like trillions or whatever, and it's just
rolling.
It's just spinning.
Yeah, it's just steadily going up.
And I do like the South Park interpretation that every famous person ever is in hell. Like they don't shy away from it.
Gandhi.
Yeah,
Gandhi
Mother
is
Teresa.
there. Milton Berle,
and the things that we've learned about Gandhi since.
Yeah, the things that we know about Gandhi, the things we know about Mother Teresa, I don't know. There's something to be said. Like, for you to get that famous and that big worldwide, especially like pre-social media days, it's kind of like there's no ethical billionaires. Like, the only way you get there is by being an asshole to somebody. I don't, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's some...
It's kind of what their take always was.
Yeah, it's like if you're really a wholesome person, there's kind of a cap on how popular you're going to get. Like Bob Ross or Mr. Rogers or something like that. Yeah, they were popular, they were well loved, but nobody went to like Bob Ross Techno Night. Not while he was still alive. But
speaking of Kenny going to hell, maybe we can get a little clip insert here, but the song that plays while...
that's Metallica, right?
Well, it's Trey Parker doing the music, and he originally sang it trying to sound like Metallica, but it is actually James Hetfield in an uncredited role being directed to sound more like himself by Trey Parker. Like, because he's like Trey Parker's like, no, more like this, like, little boy, you're going to hell, like, really accent it, so it's James Hetfield almost, like, making fun of himself singing it, and it sounds perfect. It's very funny.
Like the cartoon version of James Hetfield singing.
Yeah, performed by him.
Yep.
It feels like you have to embrace that. If you're going to be involved in a South Park project, you got to be embracing the fact that they're going to make fun of exactly who you are. They're going to reduce you down to your base atoms and figure out the most cringe part about you and point at it and laugh.
Yeah.
And you just got to get over that.
And he was happy to play ball and be included, but because I always, for years and years until I got that sort of background information, I just thought it was Trey Parker because it sounds like Trey Parker making fun of James Hetfield.
I thought it was James Hetfield. I figured I would see his name in the credits because I was like, that sounds exactly like him. Like, that's beyond somebody mocking him. That sounds like his voice. So that it wasn't surprising to find out it was him. It's surprising that like he had to lean into it more because I'm like, oh, you didn't just sing normally? This sounds like you're just singing normally. Like,
but they also did the same with Michael McDonald with the credit music.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't. What was the credit song? I didn't.
It's like The Eyes of a Child, and it's all it's almost completely serious, but there's lyrics in it that are like, I know a guy who can detail your car for about $20. Like, if you actually just listen, he's like, he's like, there's a guy who can detail your car for about $20. It's so silly. Yeah.
Well, another way you can tell that this show is a fantasy is when the mom goes to, or when they have that big hullabaloo at the UN. I'm sorry, there's going to be a little political humor here.
Yeah.
You can tell this is a fantasy because the UN actually did something.
Right, yeah.
Yep.
But America is on point because their whole argument is just fuck Canada. That's just how they
It's not
show
our
up
fault,
to
it's
the UN.
Canada's fault.
Like, I don't know what Canadians have done to warrant such disrespect in the world because they're widely known for, syrup, hockey, and being polite. Like, what's wrong with that? The only thing you might be offended by is hockey, but
Bill Clinton comes on the TV to announce that Canada has bombed the Baldwins.
Yes.
In an act of
Okay, now
war.
if they actually started taking out celebrity families, that's where the United States would...
Right, who would that be today? That would be the Kardashians, maybe?
Yeah.
Canada.
Oh, yeah, the Kardashians, and it would be the 9/11 of our time.
Right.
And the Pauls. The Kardashians, the Pauls.
Oh, there's so much. The little joke where they go on Conan O'Brien and get captured by the American government.
Yes.
Terrence and Phillip. But,
And then Conan kills himself.
Yeah, he throws himself out on the car, and the alarm starts going off. I love that little guy who just pops in the scene and goes click click with the car alarm.
Yeah.
Like, not worried about the guy that just died on your car. I don't want to annoy everybody.
So much shit like that in this movie just like floors me because it's such an it's completely removed from the plot or the story. It's just a silly little side joke, and those are the things that I love in South Park and in this.
Like the very beginning of the show where it starts out with the song and Stan is like the pure white snow and you see him pick up the snow that the deer just peed on.
Yeah, it's like you see homeless people and you just don't care. And he's like jumping over them.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
It's so bad. There's so many parts of it that are so bad. I need to see, there's a clip that I put, I made a reference of the time, and anytime I do a reference of the time, that tells me that there's something I want to talk about. But it says, Death Camp clip at 45 minutes in. So now I feel like I have to like pull up the movie. So
that's the. Did we say death camps? We meant happy camps. It's they've rounded up all the Canadians and put them into camps.
Oh yeah, like what is the current term that's going around in the news? Gated communities.
Wellness farms.
Yeah.
Wellness farms and gated community. Like, it depends on where you're at. If it's in the United States, they're going to call them wellness farms. Yeah, if it's Palestine, then it's gated communities. They're literally referring to like ghettos where they're keeping refugees as gated communities. Yeah, I mean, in a sense, there is a gate. There is security guarding the gate, but not for the reason you would think.
It's keeping you in instead of keeping people out.
Brought to you by Snacky S'mores.
I like that couple like random points here that I wrote down. Satan's glider, when Satan's going for a little glide, is the pride flag.
Yeah.
And again, where Satan is the hero of this movie, he's the one that's showing that and it's not even a big deal. Like, hey guys, look at my pride flag glider. No, that's his glider, and it's clearly a pride flag.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it's like Satan's gay isn't even a joke. That's like, it's like, yeah. We know.
It's just a part of the story.
Yeah, right.
It's like Star Trek in that way. Just like back in Star Trek, how all the...
there it is.
Sorry.
Do you really have a link to Star Trek on this, or are you
they're kind of in the sense that, like, one of the reasons when they first started doing Next Generation, they were going to call attention to different crew members that were gay or not gay, and Gene Roddenberry, I think, was the one that famously said that, well, in the future it won't matter anymore. Kind of like when somebody said Jean-Luc Picard should have a head of hair because they would have found a cure for baldness by this time, and he said, no, we found a cure for people that look down on people that were bald.
Yeah, awesome.
That we don't care about that anymore. So that this movie is similar in that very, very tangential way that him being gay wasn't even like, it's not something going, oh my God, you're gay. Tell us about your gay journey. No, it's just a part of who he is. But we don't ask people how they became straight.
Then they do also kind of have that in the form of Big Gay Al, though. Like, that's the whole, his
Don't
whole
you think
thing.
I look cute in this hat?
I love his song. He's like,
I do too.
This little hat, these matching ties I got from Merv's. It's like, it's so good.
That's why they just make fun of everybody, and that's why I kind of give them a pass when they have their moment of, like, what was it? There was some blackface.
It's like a 2-second scene of Cartman in blackface when he's doing his Around the World
and he's
song.
dancing in front of an African, apparently an African or some kind of Aboriginal tribe. In blackface, so it's doubly offensive that
while singing about Kyle's mom being a bitch.
Yeah. Oh, and they're making like click noises while they're doing it. Which that's not great. But then again, I mean, all media from this time was in that growing phase. We were just talking about Stir of Echoes using the R slur.
25 years ago, it's been a minute.
They do use the R slur in here as well.
Oh, yeah.
And the F slur, not directed at a member of the community, but it's still there. Which I don't think they would make that same joke in 2025, but they made it in 1999, and it's recorded, so it's reserved there forever.
And so you know what? That's the best thing we can do with that kind of humor is point it out. And I'm sure as long as the artist is not leaning into it and calling for the death to gays or anything like that,
right?
Then all right. So we learned from it. As I was doing it too then. I learned since then.
And they're still making content to this day, and they're not still doing it, so...
There you go. I couldn't say that definitively because I don't watch South Park anymore. I never really did watch it that much, but if they're not doing it anymore, then double kudos. That you didn't lean on it. It wasn't a whole big story point. It was just a little throwaway joke, and then now you just don't do it anymore. You find different directions to punch in. But again, if they made a joke nowadays about a transgender boxer beating the crap out of all the women at the Olympics, for example, that is not my place to forgive that. I could go either way, say, oh, okay, that sounds really offensive, or I could be like, you know what, I can look past that. It's not that, it was just a joke, but it's not my place to do that either way.
Well, speaking of, we were talking about Satan and his pride glider, and just his song is one of my favorites. Because he's really like singing there at the end. He's like, doing all that.
He breaks out
stuff.
the falsetto and everything.
What is it? The song is like up there, out there,
up there,
like that. Talking about going out into the real world. Yeah,
it's like the Little Mermaid, but Satan in hell instead of being the mermaid trapped under the sea.
There's so much room where babies burp and flowers bloom.
And it's a classic musical I Want song. And it happens all the time in musicals. That's how you know what your character's motivation is.
I want to live
you notice his backup singers in hell? The, like, dismembered, tortured corpses hanging by chains?
Yep.
No, I did not. Maybe I did, but I didn't write it down.
They're like, ooh, ooh, and it's them, like, on chains in
Like
the
upside
background.
down, hanging by one foot.
Their eyes are
gouged
yellowed.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, and we're talking about the music, right? And, like, there's the part where all the songs come together in a medley and stitched together, and it's so good and it's so pleasing to my brain, and it just shows that there was actual thought put into the crafting of the songs to make them be able to work. You know, you had to write all of them knowing that they were going to all blend together, and it's literally a musical. The movie is, in fact, a musical, as we said. And that's one of my favorite moments is when all the songs bleed together. I was like sitting in the theater.
That's what a good musical should do. All your different themes should be able to go together.
I was so impressed as a 17-year-old seeing, like, I was like, wow, they actually did this. You know, if you have 3 main character themes, then you should be able to put A with B, B with C, C with A, or A, B, C together. That's kind of, I mean, not every musical does that, and like there are no like definite rules, but yeah, that's what most musicals. That's what I'm saying. This musical is by the books. This is what a musical. If I saw this on stage being performed by, you know, a community theater or a touring group, I would expect it. It's worth it. But it would be kind of hard because we're expecting to see Kyle and Cartman of a certain shape, and it would be weird seeing them as real people. Kind of like SpongeBob, the musical is a little bit weird whenever you see it done without like big costumes.
I feel like they've done a live action South Park though, like musical.
Yeah, the Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
Oh no, I mean like an actual South Park. Oh, they did an episode where it went to like real life.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to see that.
Yeah, I think it's.
It might break my
brain. I think
brain
it's
a
just
little.
short. They just cut to like kids dressed as them. What was can anyone remember what the search term they was looking for when they accidentally stumbled upon German?
Gosh, what was it they were looking for?
It was something Shiza.
Yeah.
No, that's what they
without realizing that
Shiza porn is what they can't run into.
Again, dirty.
Yeah, but I forget what the search term is. But it turns out the video they click on is they're like, it's a lady getting pooed on, and then someone laughs and they're like, huh, is it Cartman's mom? And he's like, fuck you guys. And then Kyle's like, oh my god, it is Cartman's mom.
And then you hear her being polite in the porn video like she is.
He's like, let me get Shiza. Alrighty then.
What the hell is even that?
I love that, like, later on, Cartman's like, Mom, if you did a German Shiza porn, you'd tell me, right?
And she kind of looks away guiltily. Yeah.
They're just like, God damn, your mom sucks, Cartman.
So Winona Ryder gets on stage at one point and does her
ping-pong
ball trick, yeah. And for those that might not be aware, back in the day, there was like urban legend, urban myth that, you know, women would do this trick where you shove a bunch. And I imagine some women probably did this. I've never seen a video that actually had somebody doing this, but it's basically you shove a bunch of ping pong balls up inside of you and you pop them out one at a time with your legs spread. So we're assuming that the audience is watching Winona Ryder shove a bunch of ping pong balls up her hoo-hoo and then shoot them out one at a time into the audience. But then the camera pans forward and you see she is just sitting on the ground hitting ping pongs at the audience.
Yeah.
And it felt like such a Winona Ryder. Like I could literally see the real Winona Ryder doing that, and all the faces in the public would look at her like that. Like, what the fuck is wrong with this woman? Yeah. And at the end,
there it is. That's my ping pong ball trick.
Yeah. And she's like, and at the end, there's one person cheering for Winona Ryder, and that would be me. That is me. If there is one fan of Winona Ryder in the world, that means I am still alive. If there are no fans of Winona Ryder in the world, that means I've died.
There's a lot of good stuff about the USO show. Another, just one of the little things that, like, above the big jokes that sticks in my head is they're trying to stall. So they're trying to get Big Gay Al to sing his big number. And they're like, sing a song! And he's like, oh, well, I have one, but I couldn't. And one of them's like, sing it! Like, they're getting impatient. Right. And he's like, I could. And then Kyle's just like, sing the fucking song!
Like, we all know you're going to. Can we just skip ahead?
Quit being demure and just sing it already.
I want to know, what is everybody's favorite favorite song in the movie.
Out there, whatever the Satan
Up
song.
There.
That was my favorite.
Yeah.
I thought that was fucking great. Yeah.
At the time, that was definitely my favorite one, but now I think over time it's definitely become Blame Canada.
Yeah, Blame Canada stuck in my head longer afterwards, but at the time watching it, I was really like emotionally invested in Satan's story. But the week after watching the movie, I was singing Blame Canada constantly.
Oh, but also La Resistance is great.
It is. That's got a good melody. And, you know, I want to be mature and say, because I do love Satan's song, but it's still Uncle Fucker for me. It's in my head. I can't get it out of my head, that stupid melody. And, like, when they start doing the melody with the farts, it's just like, I'm unable to resist. It's so insane.
That says all kinds of things about you, my friend. That is...
It's so hard for me to pick a favorite because I can literally go through it and be like, yes, but this one, and oh, that one, and because I love them all.
I remember that song probably, like, I can quote more of that song than any other song in the show. However, because it represents like a kind of cringy time in my timeline, I don't enjoy it now as much. Like, I hear it and I'm like, oh yeah, this was entertaining back in the day. I don't want to think about this. Let's move on.
I would never sing it in public, but sometimes randomly in my head, I'll just be sitting there, and what pops in, what opens the door in my mind, it's, shut your fucking face, Uncle Fucker. It's just there.
And I love the second voice. Shut your fucking face, Uncle Fucker.
Yeah, when he
that
does
really wide.
Shut your fucking face, Uncle Fucker. Yeah.
They do it in all these different singing styles. That's how you can tell that these guys actually are pretty decent singers, because they can emulate these different voices. Like, okay, so I was an opera singer for like, I don't know, fucking 6 years or something like that. And I went through a lot of classical training for that. How I got my first audition for basically how you get into opera, at least how I did, was it starts by getting yourself a private instructor. And private instructors don't just take anybody, so they'll only take via recommendations. And how I got my recommendation was I was in a choir room and I was pretending like I was singing opera, and I was mocking opera singer. Then everybody in the room was like, holy shit, that sounds just like opera. And I'm like, well, yeah, I was trying to make fun of opera. And the next thing you know, they put me in. So that's what this reminds me of, is that these people can fucking sing. And in them mocking these different styles of singing, anybody that's that has a musical inclination, we can hear it. That, yeah, you actually know what the fuck you're doing. That's good.
And then next thing you know, they're winning Tony Awards for their musical, their actual musical.
100%. And are they even in their own show? Because they could be.
Yeah.
Like, they're good enough
aren't.
singers that they could be in their own show.
Oh, absolutely, they could be.
I love seeing that you know that the person that wrote the show could get on stage and do it himself. Like, say what you will about Lin-Manuel Miranda, but that is nice that at any point, I mean, with a little bit of rehearsal probably, he could get on stage and perform his own musical. He wrote it intending that he could do it himself. That's cool. I like that.
I have a couple of cool behind-the-scenes things about this movie. The first one is when they were making this, The Phantom Menace came out. Like the premiere of The Phantom Menace. Oh,
wow.
And they said that their entire studio on Friday one day got up and was leaving, and they were like, where the fuck are you going? We have a deadline. And they're like, dude, Star Wars is out. And they were just like...
Yeah, it's a holiday. It's like Christmas that only comes once every 15 years or something.
They were like, we don't give a shit. Like, we have to do this. And they said they finally relented, and then everyone came back to the studio to work after the movie, and they were like, yeah, you glad you quit work for that?
You got to learn about trade federations.
And Jar Jar Binks. You possibly delayed our already up against the wall deadline for that. Yeah, okay, good job.
Mm-hmm. You get to see Jake, whatever his name is, Jake Lloyd.
Yippee!
Oh God, I feel bad mocking him because all the bullshit that he got after. He didn't deserve that, for the record. Neither Jar Jar Binks or Anakin deserved the shit they got, like with Rose and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Nobody hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans.
Right. It's 100% true. And the other behind the scenes thing is that Paramount cut the first trailer and showed it to them, and they said it was the most rote, mainstream, cookie cutter comedy looking bullshit trailer. Like, look, guess who's here? It's Cartman, and like boing, like ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they stole the print of the trailer. They threw it in their trunk, and they left the studio, and they said, no, you are not releasing this. We are going to go cut our own trailer over the weekend, and that's what you were going to release. They refused to let Paramount put out the bullshit trailer that they made.
Uh-huh.
And so over the weekend it was like a 3D render of Cartman with like the lines, and it goes all the way around it and shows him, and it was just like a teaser that they put together because they're like, you are not releasing this with our name on it. They stole the physical, like they showed him the trailer, and they're like, "What do you think?" And their answer to "What do you think?" was they literally grabbed the reel off the projector and ran out of the studio and drove off the lot and called them and were like, "You are not releasing this. We are going to make our own trailer." So.
Even a camera in that room would be perfect for a comedy. Like, imagine that moment where the person makes up their mind. They're like, and they grab it and run out the door.
Right.
Like, what did I just witness?
Right.
Did he just take the fucking film?
But
I think he did.
I respect that, like they're like, no, that our name is on this. You're not doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I respect that too.
One scene I would like to point out that this was my actual Star Trek connection. There is one, and I'm convinced that the person that put this scene in it was channeling their inner Kirk when they did this. But there is a very famous scene in Star Trek 3. I haven't made y'all watch that one yet. But there's a famous scene where a Klingon is holding on to a cliff. There's like a fiery pit underneath him, and he's hanging on to Kirk's leg, and that's what's holding him up. And he's the main villain of the story. Sorry, minor spoiler, but Kirk can't get him to leave him alone, so eventually he starts kicking him in the face with his other boot, and as he's doing it, it's one of those cheesy lines in Star Trek where he goes,
I have had enough of you!
and he kicks him off the cliff.
Yeah.
And Satan literally does the same thing to Saddam Hussein in this movie.
He even
And I'm like,
says,
there's
he
no
says it.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have had enough of you. And I'm like, dude, that is a Star Trek scene. Whoever put that in is a direct Star Trek. I didn't look it up, but I'm sure.
It's also Star Wars.
It was based on the Star Wars Sarlacc pit.
Yeah, it's Darth Vader picking up
the
Emperor while he's shooting electricity and throwing him. It's a blend of so many famous movie moments, because that's
masterfully done then. Because like I said, watching it as a Star Trek fan, I felt 100% that this was a callback to a Star Trek scene and it's not a famous scene outside of the Star Trek community kind of thing. You only know about the scene if you're the kind of person that's watched that movie 4 or 5 times. The first time you watch it, if I didn't point it out to you, you would just think of it as a classic scene with a little bit weird delivery. But the more you watch it, you realize that's one of the funniest fucking things that Kirk says, "I've had enough of you," and kicks him on. It's so stupid.
That's literally the line that Satan says.
Yeah.
So it's like a hodgepodge of climactic movie scenes.
So I had to put a nod to that this movie I didn't need to look for a Star Trek reference. It threw it in already, so thanks.
My favorite behind the scenes factoid is that they were told by the MPAA that they could not have more than 400 swears in this movie or it would be an R-rated movie. So there are 399.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to figure out a way to put 399
Exactly.
in there.
I think that was to make it an X-rated movie. It is an R-rated movie.
Right, that's what it was. So they put in 399.
Yeah, so I imagine you're at 397 at the end, and you're in the credits, and as the credits are finishing, you just go, "Fuck this shit," and that's the last thing or something, just so you can get to that 399 line.
Remember how the very end is Uncle Fucker, fuck you, and maybe that's why.
Yeah, they had to add just 3 or 4
They spelled
more.
it out instead of saying it. Yeah.
Does it count if we spell it? If so, we'll keep that in mind. But
no, they said they
wait,
literally
you're spelling the swear words. Yes,
yes, we
are.
They literally went around the guidelines of the MPAA, and they said it made it funnier. There was another thing they were told they couldn't say the words like God is an asshole, but if someone was talking about what they said to God, it was okay. Yes. And so that's why the kid is like fucking God, fuck you, you asshole,
Yeah. Every way they could get around it.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
And, putting a small child, a little girl in a Cockmaster shirt.
Yeah.
I don't understand how this is socially acceptable. I'm not here to judge or censor or anything like that. I'm just looking at this and going, what are the rules then? If you can have little children wearing Cockmaster t-shirts, what are the actual rules for this? There are none? It's just up to you?
And that reminds me of the thing that they always said, Trey Parker said his mom called him after one of the episodes and was like, "I can't believe you have little kids swearing like that," because they bleep it out on the TV show, right? And he's like, They're not saying that what you think they are. We're just bleeping out what they're actually saying, so you put the in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've done it before, even with this pod, where what a person is saying isn't like the worst word. I just put the bleep over top of it. Buster from Arrested Development. We all want to know what he said about his mother that one time. If you know the show, then you know there's this part where he just goes off, and there's like 10 seconds of bleep, and everybody in the room gets silent and stares at him. Yeah. Maybe we don't want to know. Maybe the mystery is better without.
It's funnier not knowing. Whatever what you bring to it is what he said, and that's what I love.
My last note at this movie was we all watched it together, and we watched it on Amazon Prime. And in the credits, like as the credits started, the movie screen next up popped up, and it was like it didn't even let the finale finish. Like we're listening to a song in the show, and the little meter is clicking saying that it's about to start the next movie, whatever that happened to be, like a Denzel Washington action movie or something. I forget.
And it literally gives you like 3 seconds to like opt out of it switching over. It's like, no, stop.
Yeah. I was like, let us finish the fucking movie. Right. I mean, I get it. I like having an autoplay on, so if I forget and it's just on in the background, cool. Autoplay generally is good. Dude, I noticed that all the time. Like I used to watch like some shows on Netflix, like Friends, I used to watch, and they would have the credit scene, and then they were like the credits, and they would come back and do like their little outro, but it would be a comedy part, and it would cut out in the middle of that outro. Like, what the fuck, man?
I know, I hate that.
Muppet rule: who is remaining real while everybody else is a Muppet in this movie?
I don't know if
I'm going with the Muppet Babies again. I love it with the Muppet Babies.
I still think it fits if we keep Satan the way he is and turn everybody else into a Muppet. I think it's a fucking wonderful movie. I would love to hear Kermit and Miss Piggy go off and say the F-bomb constantly. I think that would be fucking wonderful.
I love it as the Muppet Babies concept, and everybody's a Muppet baby. And Satan is still Satan.
Satan's got to be the normal one though, because he's the hero. So.
Right. Satan is the hero. What if Saddam Hussein is the only real person?
That would work too. That would be my other choice. Is either Satan or Saddam has to be the real person. But then again, if you've got a real person walking around talking about fucking this Muppet baby, all shit. But then again, Cockmaster. I guess I just gotta come back to Cockmaster. Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah, just get your head in that Cockmaster space, and you'll be good to go. You know?
What is what's the popcorn bucket for South Park Bigger, Longer, Uncut?
That's a good question.
Kenny's hood.
Oops.
And you just reach into his hood and it looked burnt and stuff?
No. I feel like...
Yeah, the boobs seems like a good fit, but it feels like we've done the boobs a few times for the popcorn bucket.
I think we have, but maybe in your head
I think there was at least one that we talked about the boobs.
It's a Canadian head that like flops open on the side.
Oh, that's perfect.
Terrence and Phillip head, and you open it up and you get 2 buckets out of it kind of thing.
Or it's front and back, one side is Terrence, one side is Phillip.
Who's your MVP? Jamie, who's your MVP?
Satan. Gotta be Satan.
I'm gonna say Brian Boitano.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one too. That's a song I often sing too. Like just randomly, we'll start singing what would Brian Boitano do.
And when Brian Boitano built the pyramids, he beat up Kublai Khan. It's like...
Because Brian Boitano doesn't take shit from anybody.
It kind of shows your age a little bit. Well, at least it does for me, that when this movie first came out and they said, what would Brian Boitano do? Some of my friends were like, who the fuck is that? I'm like, oh, he was a figure skater. Wait a minute. How do I know that? Yeah. I don't remember ever seeing him perform anywhere.
He was my favorite figure skater.
It's like when you quote an ad from the 50s or something. Like, I never saw this ad. Why am I'm just... That's oral tradition for you right there. Brian Boitano is oral tradition of our culture.
So what's your MVP, Kel?
I have to go with Satan. It's not very often that I can say Satan is my MVP. So I'm gonna take that opportunity.
There you go.
Satan, he's the real one. He's the real one in this movie.
He saves the day.
Hey, he's considerate, he's open and communicative to his partner, he expresses his expectations and he expresses boundaries to his partner. These are all very progressive, very mindful, self-reflective things. And if you break down the character for their individual parts of who they are, Satan is the best person in this movie.
I love it.
All right, so now we get to the real question of what we thought of the movie, and because it was Keith's pick, let's go with you first. Did you like South Park Bigger, Longer, Uncut? Would you give it a thumbs up?
You really want to do this? Here. Now? Yes. Okay. Okay. Let's do it!
I give it my 2 thumbs up. I love it. If you can get past the crustiness of a couple of jokes that didn't age well, there's a whole lot to laugh at. There's a whole lot to be pleased with the music. It's one of my favorites. I'll probably continue to keep rewatching this as long as I have the will and desire to
How often
watch
do you go
something
back?
that's funny. I think it's probably been over 5 years since the last time I watched it, but I've probably seen this movie 20 times at this point, I would probably say. Yeah, I love it. What about you, Kel?
Yeah, easy, short answer. I would definitely give it a thumbs up. Almost a complete mirror of your thoughts that there are a couple of jokes, a couple things that don't land as well as they should, just like South Park humor in general. Like 9 times out of 10, I will enjoy an episode. 1 time out of 10, they will make a joke where I feel it's punching down a little bit too much, and the woke person inside of me yells and goes, I can't really support. Like if they make fun of trans people, I don't feel comfortable making fun of trans people. So, but most of the time, South Park resides in that territory. In this movie, they don't jump into depravity. They just get into that area where you're like, ooh, that's a little questionable, but whatever, it's okay. So, and like we've said a few times, but it's got to be part of the decision-making process, is the music is actually good, and that makes a big difference when you're watching a musical, especially because they will drag out, like any musical does, they'll drag out an idea into a 5-minute song. That song has to be entertaining, not only in its content, but the actual like melody and the tonality of the song has to be fun and interesting for your ears to listen to. And they do it. They do a really good job. They're talented musicians, talented performers, and they're funny. So that makes a good combo. What about you, Jamie? Would you give it a thumbs up?
Well, if you listen to the last episode, this will come as a surprise to no one, but I totally give this movie a thumbs up. It's one of my favorites. I really love it. And yes, there are some parts of it that haven't aged well, and yes, there are parts of it that I can do a whole sing-along with the entire show while we watched it, which I did, which is why you guys couldn't hear me. I admire both Trey Parker and Matt Stone and how I've watched everything they've ever done. I just really I think that they're a lot more talented than a lot of people give them credit for. Although that has changed through the years.
I hope at some point we do basketball.
Oh, yeah.
I remember really liking basketball.
I love
only saw it
basketball.
once, and it was back in my drinking days, so I don't remember it. So I would love to.
I love basketball.
We'll get there.
So that concludes our conversation about South Park Bigger, Longer, Uncut. Do you have anything that we missed? Let us know in Facebook messages or send us a message on Ko-Fi, Discord, any of the above. We'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Because what do we know? We're just 3 people that watch the movie. We're not experts on it.
Tell us your biggest laugh from South Park. We want to know.
Tell us your biggest, longest, uncut laugh in this movie.
Yeah, give it to us big, long, and uncut. Let us hear it.
Oh, that could get us in trouble there.
Next week, we are going to be starting our Christmas season movies. I know some people are not a huge fan of Christmas time. I personally love Christmas. And next week, even though we're doing Christmas movies, not all of us are hugely into the season, so there might be a little bit of leeway with what kind of movies we watch. We'll see.
It's a Christmas movie.
What are we calling
holiday
that
movies?
season?
It's a Christmas movie.
Holiday movies.
It's a holiday movie.
What did we decide on the name for it? I forget. What was our name for our Christmas show?
Screen share all the way.
Screen share all the way.
And we need to have some bells shaking in the background when we say that. And, the jingling snowfall sound.
Yeah. So I guess next week we'll be
snowfall
starting
sound.
our
Hold up.
Scream share all the way.
The
snowfall sounding, like the sounds of snow falling.
Yeah, it just
like just silence.
It's the sound of shaking little bells. That's what snowfall sounds like.
Okay, you can tell you're from Louisiana.
I was gonna say, the sound of snowfall means that you're not hearing anything. Like the more snow there is outside, the less sound there is.
Yeah.
Period. That's what makes it actually kind of cool to walk around during a snowstorm. It's because like you're in a sound studio. Every sound gets deadened because it's just soft everywhere.
That literally is. It's like the sound of a shark is Jaws. Living in Louisiana. Yeah. The most times I've seen snow, it's associated with Christmas music, so there's bells shaking in the background.
Oh, trust me, I considered, and I actually messed with taking our theme song and putting just sleigh bells over the top of it to see if that would make it sound Christmassy. And no, it doesn't. It's way too jazzy. It's way too Star Trek-y. It doesn't work. So you'll be hearing our new theme song next week for our Scream Share all the way. Screen share all the way.
Screen share all the way.
Yeah, we're gonna give you presents and kill you.
We're getting lost in the sauce.
Welcome to Black Christmas. Isn't that the name of that movie?
Oh yeah,
Black
that
Christmas?
slasher movie.
Yeah. There's a really slasher movie named that.
We appreciate you joining us. Look for us on ko-fi.com/screenshare. Support the pod. You can actually make us watch a movie, or you can get involved in some votes that we're throwing out there. But in the meantime, thank you very much for joining us. I am Kelly.
I'm Keith.
And I'm Jamie.
See you later. Have
Bye.
a good time.
Bye.
Don't wear t-shirts that say Cockmaster unless you're willing to field some very personal questions.
Yeah, don't fuck your uncle.
Shut your fucking face.
Fucker.
I'm going to call the police. You go ahead, call them. Call anybody you want. They can't do anything to me. Not anymore. And nor can any of you. You go ahead, call them. Call anybody you want. They can't do anything to me. Not anymore. And nor can any of you.
Suck my balls.